Welcome to the Author's Corner with A.C. Campbell. Join us as we take a tour around the literary industry with interviews and features within and throughout the industry. And now, the show. Welcome to an all-new Author's Corner with A.C. Campbell. As of course, I'm your host, A.C. Campbell. Today, I have two more powerful ladies brought to me by the great Verona Willis Brown. Basically, I interviewed her a few months ago, and she is awesomely amazing. An interview I had a couple of weeks ago with Patricia Cameron was our first interview that she brought to us. Today, we have two more authors she brought to us, Luna Felicia, as well as Jacqueline P. Walker. I mean, these women have some stories to tell, and every time I interview these, ladies brought to me by Miss Willis Brown, I mean, I'm just blown away. I mean, these ladies are amazing. With Luna Felicia, we'll be talking about basically her books, her wonderful books, Jacob and Marissa, and everything surrounding those two books, and how she's putting them out herself, and she's making sure that she's getting them marketed. Oh man, we just had a wonderful talk about characters and things like that. Then we're going to talk to Jacqueline P. Walker, in which, I mean, she has a great, unique story to tell that we all can actually learn from. And her book is actually basically two stories told in two different tales of two different lands. And it's all true. So, I mean, get ready for that. Then on today's 2 cents, I'm going to be talking about, grammar with social media, because we do really, as writers and authors, we really do need to make sure we're representing ourselves correctly. So, when we come back, I'm going to start the ball rolling with Luna Felicia. Stay tuned.
Have you seen The Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell? It's the best show you're not watching. Every week we have authors, editors, artists, and others from various industries. There are 3 ways to watch Author's Corner, primarily on our YouTube channel, HD Television, on our HD Television Facebook page, and on our media page at www.hdcampbellmedia.com. It's the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. Check it out weekly, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. And God bless you. By Late Murder at 10 by H.D. Campbell. Former investigative reporter Mark Alexander thought his life hit a slump when a mass shooting results in the murder of a controversial news anchor. Can Mark get out of his head long enough to crack this case? Well, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to get your own copy of Late Murder at 10 on Amazon.com and coming soon to your favorite bookstore.
Luna Felicia was great to talk to. I had a great time talking to her. We talked about writing, how much she loved writing, how she started out, how she influenced her son, she influenced her grandchildren. Everybody just basically benefited from her talents, and I love that. We all, as writers and authors, we've all influenced people with our writing, and I think that's one of the biggest things about it. So, without further ado,
all right, that's a very good question. I'm born in Panama City, Panama, that's Central America. And I moved to New York City with my parents and my siblings when I was 12 years old. And I started writing around that age because when I got here, seeing the city that I thought was really amazing looking in pictures, I saw pictures of New York and I couldn't wait to get here. But when I finally got here, it wasn't quite what I thought it would be. The pace was very fast. The weather was the weather was cold, and nothing was quite like I expected it. So even though this was a permanent move for me and my family, I wanted to go back to what I knew. So I started writing out of frustration, just writing my feelings, writing my thoughts. Those thoughts and feelings turned into poems, and the poems turned into short stories. The short stories turned into plays, which I did with children. And the play, one of the plays turned into a book. And then that's kind of my journey.
Yes, I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about Jacob. And I want to talk about Marissa. So before we get into that, what brought you to your first publishing accomplishment?
What made me first publish?
Yes.
Well, in the beginning, I wanted my work to be personal. It was very personal. But then later, as I continued to write, I wanted it to be public. Starting off with when I did a small play in my building in the Bronx for Worcester Black History. And it was my neighbors that said, we know you can write, so why don't you write something and put it on for Black History? And I was like, no, I'm not. I like to write my stuff and I like to keep it private. But she said, no, put it on. So that's what I did. I did this short little play with my two sons and one other little girl. And when that was over, the children in the building came and they were asking me, it's like, Miss Luna, when are we going to do the next one? And I was like, well, it wasn't intended to be a next one. So that made me realize, okay, you know what? Maybe people do like my writing. And I wanted to now make it public. So I did my first book and I found a publisher for that, but that didn't work out very well for me. So I did the second book and I self-published.
I kind of make fun because it's really funny. When people find out you can write,
Mm-hmm.
they have this big creative thing. We always want to get targeted. It's like, hey, you're the writer.
Yeah.
You write it. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, they believed in me before I believed in myself. My neighbors did, and I see them as my mentors.
And that is awesome. Yeah, like I said, that's what got me together. Like say, I was always the guy. Hey, you're the writer. So that is just so awesome. So I want to talk about your projects. Tell me first. Give me the titles of your book projects.
Oh, the very first one is called Marissa, and that's this one right here. This is Marissa. Oh, right here. And then the second one right now, this one is called Jacob, and this is the latest one.
Okay.
So these are the two books that I have out right now.
Awesome. So what inspired Marissa?
Well, starting with Marissa, it started off with sort of like my story, and then it kind of took a whole life of its own because it starts off with a young lady that's divorced, and she has one son where I have two. So that was it. Start off there, and then it just kind of I started picking out because I did not want to tell my story, but that's where it started with her. And then I just started picking and things that I've experienced, things that other people have experienced. I mixed everybody's story into this book, and but that's where it started.
Awesome. So, what I guess my next question is: so, what is your favorite takeaway from the story?
My favorite takeaway from which one?
From Marissa.
From Marissa. My takeaway from Marissa is to watch how she grew and how she evolved, starting from a young lady that was angry and confused, not understanding why. And that's kind of where I was. I didn't understand why, because in my mind, when you get married, and I married young, it was supposed to be forever. And it didn't quite turn out to be forever. So I was confused as to what went wrong and kind of who to blame. Who's responsible for this thing not working? But then, like I said, I did not want it to be my story. So then I changed it and I added other characters and I added other twists and I added other turns. But that is the to watch her evolve, to watch her grow, to watch her find herself, who she really is, as opposed to this very angry young lady wondering what happened. Well, what happened is that stuff happens, and it doesn't always work out the way you want it to work out, but you have to grow from it. You have to evolve from it, and you have to stand. You can't just, you can't quit. You have to stand. So Marissa stood.
I love how, and I love when people write fiction, but they can tell a powerful story and still teach someone from the characters in that story.
Mhm.
I just love that. So I'm only talking about Marissa right now. How does
Yes.
it feel that the first few fans, I mean, that you have fans, you actually have readers? When the first book came out, everybody started loving it. How did that feel?
Unreal. Unreal. You know, it's like, I like to write. I read my writing. I love my writing. But it's unreal to think that somebody else likes it too. And they're blowing me up. And now sometimes I'm wondering, are you serious about this? Are you trying to just blow smoke at me? Was it really that good? And they just, I mean, I had people to just really just blow it up, and it's surreal. It's not, I like it, but it's still unbelievable.
I'm glad I'm not alone in this. You can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but anytime you get a positive feedback from your books, it's almost as if it's almost like the first time feeling. Like say, you find it hard to believe.
Exactly, exactly. And I did. I found it very hard to believe. In
So
the
that's
same vein as when I wrote that first play, and the children want another one. It's like, are you talking to me? You like what I did? So yeah,
yes.
it's a good, unbelievable feeling.
One thing that we fail to realize as writers and authors is people admire they admire you, but they admire your craft more. To
Mhm,
where if they really they'll come to you because you care about what you do. You care
mhm.
about what you write. You're not
I do.
so it just feels good on both counts as a human being and as an author.
Mhm.
So that is so beautiful. So now how do we get from Marissa to Jacob? Tell me about that.
Okay. I've been talking about writing another book for a very long time, but it didn't happen. There was always something that came up, something that I was doing, some other project, and then came COVID. So with COVID, I had more time on my hands than I knew what to do with. Um, I started gardening. I started doing all kind of things to just fill up the time, because remember at the beginning of COVID was really a shutdown. And I'm thinking, I was sleep. Well, I guess in between sleep and wake, and this story just started to come about this Jacob. The name came first. So I thought about Jacob and Esau. And don't ask me to quote too much more of the Bible, because I really don't know that much, but I do know the story of Jacob and Esau. And they were twins. So at around that same time, my goddaughter was visiting, and her little son is adorable little boy, and his hair is like carrot red. So now I've got this name, I've got this person that I want to have red hair. And then the story pretty much wrote itself. I had the name, I had twins, I had red hair, and then it just took off.
That's beautiful. So were there any challenges with publishing Jacob even during COVID?
And not really. I think I had more challenges trying to get a publisher for Marissa. But once I decided to self-publish, I started to do a little bit of research about how to go about doing that. And it seemed like so many people are doing that now. There was a lot of information out there for me to glean. So that's what I did. I just, I started talking to people, going online, just getting more information. And then it actually was not difficult at all.
Now I need to tell you something. Like I said, I do my research, I look things up. You got just as many fans for Jacob as you do Marissa, and I know basically you're kind of blowing up right now. How does that feel?
You know, again, you're talking about that surreal feeling with people saying that, oh, we thought Marissa was good, but Jacob is even better. I heard them say things like Jacob should be on Lifetime.
Yes.
This could be a movie. You know, it's like the thoughts and the ideas that they have for me. It's like, okay, so I have them also, but it's like when I think of other people believing in my craft so much, wanting to see it so much, talking about it, not just to about it to me, but talking about it to other people. It is an incredibly amazing feeling.
You know, when you get people talking that movie talk, you know you've written a good book. When people say it could be a movie, it could be something else, you've
Yes.
already arrived. I've been in this game since '99, and I'm telling you, when that movie talk hits, your head just goes woo.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is just so awesome. So how I mean, at this juncture, at this point, you have two books. People love you. I know you're not done. So my next question is, and I know I just asked you this, but I'm not even talking about fans. I'm talking about you personally. How do you feel about everything?
Amazing. I feel amazing, and I feel hopeful. I feel hopeful. I don't know to tell you where this is going to go. I know where I want it to go. So I feel hopeful. I feel optimistic. And I feel guided, and I continue to ask for guidance. So, what's next? What should I do next? And it's like I'm waiting for the divine directions to come to me. Where do I go next? How do I do this next? Because this is new for me. Because even when I go on the computer and somebody might say, DM me, I was like, what is that? And how do I do that? So the language of the whole computer, the whole social media, I'm learning that language. So I'm overwhelmed. I'm excited. I am blown away, and I am very, very, very hopeful.
Well, we're gonna backtrack for just a second. I want to ask you first, what are some of your challenges to write?
The challenges to writing?
Yeah.
For
Some
me,
some of your challenges.
just getting started, really, because writing for me is a gift. It's a blessing. I don't take it lightly. I don't know where it came from, but I know I was born with it. It didn't just, I didn't study it. I didn't, it just comes out. It just comes out of me. I was born with, this is my gift. We all have a gift, and writing is mine. Because before I started books and all that, I've always journaled, my feelings, my thoughts, what am I, I write, I just write. It's a release. If I'm frustrated, well, someone might go get a drink, I'm gonna write. Or somebody might, I have to write it out. So I don't have any challenges when it comes to writing. It just comes out of me. I have the Marissa and I have Jacob completed, but trust me, I have lots of other little pieces of things that I've started, but then the story stops. And when the story stops, I have to stop, and then sometimes I go back to it and I look at it and see if I am inspired to move forward again with it. And if I am, I'll go a little bit further. But when I tell you that Jacob, from beginning to end, it kind of wrote itself. It was all the way through. I got to a point where I stopped, and I was like, okay, I stopped, but I didn't feel finished. But I stopped because there was nothing else flowing. There was nothing else just coming out of me. So I sat there and I said, okay. And I picked it up again and just kind of went on again. And that was the same experience that I had with Marissa. And I have, like I said, 2 other projects that I did that I started but they're still in that in-between stage that I'm not guided to complete it yet. And one of these days I will, and maybe I won't. But I don't have challenges when it comes to writing. It's in my DNA, it's in my blood, it's in my spirit.
You know, I just love your attitude. I'm loving this interview because I just love your attitude is just so positive, and I love it, and it's refreshing because a lot of people that's been in this game for a long time, a lot of them, they love writing, but they sometimes it's a challenge to stop them. You have embraced everything, and that's one thing I love, and I don't ever change that. Please
Thank you. Thank you.
don't
Hello.
change. You mentioned you had two sons. How do they feel about Brown being an author?
My sons,
Yes,
how do they feel about it?
yes.
Oh my gosh, they're so proud of me. They're so proud of me. Um, the writing thing is a gift that I have that I think that kind of gave to them. They don't write books, but they do write songs. They like to lyrics. I would say they write lyrics. And my younger son, he has written a couple of like stories, but more on the anime thing. Like he likes the anime. I think that's the Japanese cartoon or something like that. He writes also. And I recently found out from my son that my grandson likes to write.
Mm.
So they are proud, and I tell them, I said, you know, whenever you talk about writing, remember where you got it from. You got it from my mom.
Yeah, I love that. It's
You
good when
know,
you
so
pass it
it's
on.
about now we're talking about 3 generations down the line of writers, and um yeah, I recently did. I said, you know, remember where you got it from. You got it from my mom.
Okay, I might end up interviewing one of your sons or grandsons soon. Don't they remember that?
Yes. Even if they don't remember, you remind them.
Oh, I will most definitely. Oh no, I'll show this interview. Oh yeah, most definitely. So now, but next question. So, like you say, you're writing all the time. You have projects in the work. Do you have anything you have going on right now as far as can you tell us about any new projects you're working on?
Right now, my project is promoting Jacob. That is my project right now, and seeing if we can do the things that people say we can do with Jacob, turn it into a lifetime TV series or maybe a movie. But again, I'm waiting for my guidance and my direction as to how to go about doing that.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I love that. So, how can we get to know you? How can we buy your book? And do you have a website?
I'm sorry, one more time.
How can we get to know you and how can we buy your books?
Okay, you can get to know me through by following me on Facebook. It's my name, Luna Felicia, and on there I try to put a little bit more about myself. The book is actually on Amazon. It's available on paperback and as a Kindle.
Awesome, awesome. So,
But in terms of knowing me, I would love to have people get on that page, get on the Luna Felicia website and talk to me, ask me questions. I am willing to answer them. As a matter of fact, I welcome them and tell me how I am doing and how I'm presenting um, the project.
beautiful, beautiful. And so, when you're not writing, you mentioned gardening, but what are some of the things you like to do when you're not writing?
I love to dance. I love to dance. I mean, I could dance all day long. I like to, I didn't say I'm a singer. I like to sing. There's a difference between being a singer and liking to sing. So once a week, I go to karaoke. So I love karaoke. I love dancing. I love traveling, and I love photography. So I mean, if you were to ever take the pictures that I've had, I mean, I could, I have thousands and thousands. I'll take pictures of the air, and I love taking pictures. I love traveling. I love dancing, and I love karaoke.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just loving your attitude, your splash. Don't ever, please don't ever lose that. I promise you, don't lose that.
Okay.
So, so now, so my next question. I know we're still in the middle of COVID, but do you have any events or anything coming up? Any book signings? Anything going on?
I haven't done that yet. I'm trying to figure out how to actually do something like that. Book signing, um, uh, venues of that nature. I have not done that.
So my final question is: I always give my authors the final word. You can give shout outs, you can give advice, you can say what's in your mind, but and I know with for you it's gonna be all positive, but I'm gonna love it. So whatever you gotta say, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. First, I'll talk about authors or people who have a story. I believe, and this is just my belief, that everybody has a story. You may not think that your story is important, but it's important to somebody. Somebody out there wants to hear your story. So if you have a burning desire to tell a story, if you feel it inside your heart, inside your soul, inside your spirit, I encourage you to just get pen and paper and just start writing. If it's in there, it's going to just come out. Just keep on coming, and just don't stop until your pen stops. Or if you're typing, because sometimes when I'm typing, I think faster than my fingers can go. So I feel a story inside of you, you should tell it, and don't let anybody discourage you from telling that story. Tell it. Even if you tell it and then file it away in a cabinet, tell your story. The second thing is, as far as my book, it's available on Amazon, as I said. It's called Jacob, and Marissa's there also. And it's paperback and it's on Kindle. And this is for a low price of $12. So it's very affordable. It's a very good book. It's a mystery. It's a love story. It's intriguing, but it's for adults. It has language and it has behavior. So if even if you're an adult and you're squeamish about language, then this is not the book for you. You know, I know my audience. I remember I was raised in New York City, so it has language and it has content. So I'm going to be very clear about that. It's a rated R. It's not an X. It's a rated R book. And for that matter, both of them are. So both of them are for mature audiences only. And finally, a shout out to my sons, Dante and Zen. Shout out to my husband, Tony. Shout out to my grandbabies, Rafael, Gabriel, Dylan, and my besties, Lori, Cookie, Rosetta, and Paula.
She has a website coming soon. I'll be helping her develop that, and as soon as she has a website, I will definitely keep you guys informed. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Jacqueline Walker. Stay tuned.
Coming soon, the second printing of the Sergeant Wise Guy Chronicles, reintroducing you to a special agent, Sergeant Wise Guy, the government's top strategics and agent with a very sarcastic tongue. A former Ranger, he heads up a team of specialists taking care of missions too big or too messy or other agents don't want to handle. His first mission takes him to Paris, where a stolen Cold War nuclear warhead was discovered. While discovering the warhead's origin, a lost dead love resurfaces. Can Sergeant Wise Guy resolve both before the secret plans for the warhead is complete? Well, check out the second printing of the Sergeant Wise Guy Chronicles, coming soon.
Welcome back to the show. Jacqueline Walker is an amazing writer, amazing person, and she has a strong story to tell about how she grew up. She grew up very uniquely, and it really made her strong. To learn more, here's the interview.
I have loved to write since I was a child. I'm a quiet person by nature and always was. And I was a reader. So I always had, lots of books from different genres that I was reading. And I started out writing actually poetry. And I wrote poetry, like it would be my mother's birthday. And so I'd write her a poem. And then as I grew and became teenage years, actually my best friend is a graphic artist and she was doing art. And so I would write little poems and she would design them and I would give them to my mom and give them to her mom. And that would be the gifts that I would give out. So poetry was really my start and how I, started writing. Then as I progressed through, and wrote poetry, I actually, I have a lot of nieces and nephews and I would spend a lot of time with them and we talk a lot. They ask a lot of questions or they have concerns about things or, something brought them down. And that kind of got me into start, giving them, telling them, saying, writing, giving information and actually writing, I guess what you would call in a sense, a motivational blog. And it wasn't my intent at the time, but it kind of turned out that way. So I started writing from that. And then actually several years ago, then when there's a site called Everyday Power. And when that site was new and coming up, actually, I was one of the main contributors on that site. And so I wrote like blogs from month to month, motivational, career, and personal encouragement, blogs for that site. And out of that, then I actually produced a small poetry chapbook as well as a book of personal essays with poems that, again, that was like oh, wow, this is fun to do. I wonder if I can do this. And I put them out. That was probably 9-10 years ago. And it was nothing that I ever looked to promote, et cetera. And you probably will find them out there on Amazon because I had put them out there. Lyrics of My Reality. That was my personal essay book, Reflections and Inspirations. And I actually still love the book and it's out there. But as I said, I wasn't promoting it or anything of that sort. But I went on and as I continued to write my blogs, then I took a role actually in my church where I started developing programs for them. When I say programs, I mean like from month to month, I work with a team and come up with, okay, what's the theme that we want to focus on this month? And then around that theme, we would arrange and define, special presentations and articles and blogs and just writings. And so that really got me more into, boy, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. And then in 2020, actually, that was 50 years since a big event happened in my life that really, I think, was the hallmark of changing the course of my life and the course of my family's life. And as I recalled and recounted that, and that along with my discussions with my nieces and nephews and thinking, boy, they need to really understand this story. They've heard bits and pieces, but they need to get the full picture. I decided I'm going to write this book. And that's how A Season of Disruption came into being. So that's sort of my writing journey that got me to where I am now.
Beautiful, beautiful. Before we get into Season of Disruption, I just want to say this. I've been doing this show since 2009. I've been published since 99. I've been writing since way before then. And I don't care how many people I've interviewed. I don't care how many journeys I've heard. All the journeys are so much the same. I love how we just take the same road. We start writing poetry or whatever, and we just get on the road and we just don't stop.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, and you're definitely no different. It's like you hit that road, it's like nonstop, right this. Now Season of Disruption. So
right.
Now tell me a little bit about, tell me about your book, Season of Disruption. What actually influenced that book?
Right. That book is a memoir and it's a family memoir. And as I say, the influence of that book is from a specific time in my family's life when actually we had a triggering event where everything changed. And the triggering event was the sudden passing of my father. And at the time, my mother was left a widow in her 30s with 5 children. And the 5 children ranged in age from 15 to 8. And I was the youngest, 8. And my mother had for 16 years been a housewife. She had no skills. She had no education to speak of that was going to get her a great job. My father was the one that had all those things and who was the breadwinner. And so with this sudden passing, we were in a crisis mode. Not just you're dealing with the loss, but now you're dealing with how do you survive and how do you move forward? And to add to that, we were in what you call a third world country because I was born in Jamaica, and Jamaica is where I was, and Jamaica is where this event happened. So when this event happened and my mother is left with 5 children, no money in the bank, no life insurance, and no skills to get a job, she had to figure out what to do. The one thing that she had was that my grandmother lived in New Jersey and was able to issue her a visa to visit. And my mother said, well, I'm going to take that visa and try to see what I can make of it. But in the meantime, what do I do with these 5 children? And there was no one who was volunteering to take 5 children. No one even volunteering to come and live with 5 children. But I had a 15-year-old sister who said, that's all right. We know what to do. We're going to make it. And so my mother actually got on that plane and we lived, the 5 of us, by ourselves in that house with my 15-year-old sister in charge as our guardian, striving to get things done and to live and to stay out of trouble and go that path that our parents wanted us to go, while my mother went off on this journey with nothing but a 6-month visa, trying to make that into something permanent, and not just permanent for herself, but permanent for herself and then get us there to make it permanent. So the book really talks about, it tells you first the triggering event and how it comes to be. It then actually gives you great description of all the characters so you understand who they are and how they function. All the children, the mother, and even the father who have passed away. And you get a sense of the family and how they lived before this triggering event. And then when the triggering event happened, the book actually then takes you through and shows you how these 5 young children now figure out a way to survive and strive under the guardianship of a 15-year-old, going down one path, and then take you the path as well of this journey that this young widow who had never left the country before now has to embark on to try to navigate a new country, a new world, a new society, and figure out how to get what she needs, not just for herself, but for her children. And it takes you through all the obstacles that she ran into. And, all the sacrifices she had to make and all the things that she had to suffer. But then it also takes you to just how, there's natural, we think that we have to go to school and do different things sometimes to get all the knowledge and the skills that we need. And sometimes they're just inherent. And sometimes we just have to recognize that, and use our ingenuity. And the book actually shows you how she went about using her ingenuity to make a way. And when obstacles were coming, to cross those obstacles and beat those challenges and figure a way to actually overcome, and not just overcome, but to reunite her family. So that's the course that A Season of Disruption takes the reader through.
Sounds like we're getting a bonus story. You're actually getting kind of 2 stories in one.
Exactly.
You and your siblings, and then your mom in the States. So basically, the stories of two groups surviving.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, this is so. How has the book been received by readers so far?
Actually, the book has been very well received. I mean, even I'll say, going out, I wrote the book, and I didn't even know really how all of my family would take it. And I'll say, we had a family get together this past Saturday. It was actually my birthday. I'll admit it was my birthday. Last Friday was my birthday. Thank you. And we got together on Saturday. And my oldest niece actually said, I'm so happy you wrote this book. She said, there was a lot in there that I did not know. And, also remember my father died before any of them were even conceived or thought of. So she said, I learned about him, things that I didn't know. She said, but I also learned about you guys and what you went through and, your events and how you dealt with stuff. I learned about even more about grandma, what she did, etc. And she said, now she has a daughter. And she said, now I have Haley reading this book so that she can learn and she can really see understand her legacy and know, where she came from. And it can help to motivate her through everything that she'll have to go through. So that's great from a family standpoint. But then I'll also say, just from a public standpoint of readership, I've had people say, my goodness, this is so inspiring to me it just helps me to say, hey, no matter what the challenge, I can get over it. I'll persevere and I can get over it. And so that's what, that's what really comes from it. And then I've also had it as the different lines of story. And I had someone actually review the book that said, this book is not only heartwarming, but once you start reading it, and this is what I've got from a lot of people, once you start reading it, you don't want to put it down because you want to find out how both paths go and what really transpires. So it's really been well received, and I'm really grateful for that.
I want to add on to that.
Yes.
Society where situations like that, it's so easy to either give up or go a negative path. It's good to read a book where you can see actually people who actually been in the situation actually say, okay, we're not giving up.
Right.
Because I don't know what, and not knocking this younger generation, but we're just more, we were just more resilient.
Yes. And that's the thing, I think, to show the resilience and to show readers, and as you're saying, in this younger generation, that, hey, you don't always get everything that you want up front, okay? But that doesn't mean that you should give up or that it should stop you. You might not be born in a situation where everything is laid out for you. But again, that doesn't mean it's all over and that you can't achieve just like the next person. Your path is there for you. Your goals are achievable, but you have to set them, plan out, and work hard towards them. And you can't spend your time looking to the right or looking to the left and wondering who has what. You have to focus on what your charge is, and then you can truly deliver.
Yes, most definitely. Because I'm looking at your book, and your book is giving out such a very powerful message. Not only does it give a great story, and I'm always a sucker for great stories. So, that already brings me in, but it teaches a powerful message.
Yeah.
Actually, like I said, I'm going to just keep pushing this two thing that it actually teaches two messages.
Yes.
Like I say, mom didn't give up. Your 15-year-old sister didn't give up. And look at you all now.
Exactly. And actually, as they go through the book, I've even included an epilogue to kind of tell them, where the characters are today. So, that even puts out. But I chose the title, A Season of Disruption, And that was very deliberate on my part. And it was very deliberate because I wanted readers to really focus on a few things. One, it's just a season. Remember, things happen for a season. Don't make them overtake you and become your entire life. It's a season. It will pass, but you have to hang in there to allow it to pass. If you don't, then it won't pass. But so you have to remember it's just a season. And then disruption, because if you look at even the meaning of the word disruption, you know, it's like a sporadic and it's a sudden happening, but it doesn't mean that it's, again, it goes on forever and ever and ever. It's a sudden disruption. Okay, it might trip you up for a bit. Get up, dust yourself off, and move on. So that, you know, that really went into me choosing that title so that people can really get that in their head for them going forward in their own journey and their own challenges. It's a season and it's only a disruption.
That's beautiful. So how long did it take you to write this book?
Actually, it took me actually just, I'd say a few months to actually write and lay out the story. And then I did, of course, I went to an editor to make sure, that I really felt like my story was lined up well and, was really laid out in a proper manner. And then, of course, I worked with a proofreader to make sure, again, that I was putting a quality work out. So it took a few months to put it all together, to actually put it together. And then I had, a few people read it beforehand, from cover to cover to kind of give their view of the story, again, and of what they felt about the book and what they got from the book and how it really, impressed upon them. And then I felt, okay, I'm ready now to actually go out with it.
I often tell people, well, I'm an editor, and I often tell people that if you write a book and they invoke any type of emotion, whether it be positive or negative, you've written a good book. And I'm looking at all these positive reviews and books made a few people cry and a few. You have definitely written. Because again, this is a very powerful story, and it's a true story.
Exactly, it's a true story. I wrote it and I say to people it's a fictional memoir, but I only call it that because I did change the names. I changed the names in the story, and a couple of the city names in Jamaica I changed, but I changed nothing about the truthfulness of the events that occurred, how they occurred, what triggered them, and actually how the characters moved through them. It's all true.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So, excuse me. So I guess my next question is, so have you done any speaking or been on any tours for your book, or have you been able to go out? Because I know we're still in COVID, but
yeah, I've done a few things. I did a few virtual book fairs, and then I actually did the Independent Authors Book Expo. That one I did in person up in New Jersey. So I did that one in person in August, and I loved that. And I got to actually, speak to those who came out about the book and about myself and answer questions. So that was great. And I've been doing a few podcasts. Verona Willis Brown, the question, who referred me to you, I did her podcast. So I've been doing different podcasts like that. And I've done some written interviews. There's a written interview in Right to Be magazine and one in Pretty Women Hustle. So I've been, trying to get out and really talk to people and get the story out there.
Beautiful. I just want to say really quick, Verona Willis Brown is awesome. I interviewed her a few months ago. She is awesome people.
Yes, she is.
Yes, most definitely. She's the reason we're doing this interview now, and I'm very happy. So thank you definitely, Miss Willis Brown. I'm very happy.
Yes, definitely.
So my next question, do you have anything coming up soon?
I'm working on two projects that I am targeting to release next year, early in the year. One is actually a collection of short stories that are somewhat in memoir format because they're short stories, again, of events that have occurred in my life or life of people that I actually know. So that'll be a short story collection that's coming out. And then I have actually a novel that's coming out that will be more of an urban novel that looks at the life of a young professional and, just not just challenges that she goes through, but trying to actually, if you want to say, create her life and her own story through her profession as well as through her personal engagement, not just romantically, but through her family legacy. So that too will be coming out next year. And I also say that I have a personal essay, Disrupted Not Defeated, that will appear in the Journal of the University of the Virgin Islands in their next issue, which will come out in April of 2022. And that's a literary journal that university puts out. And that my essay will appear in their next, I think it's volume 36. Yes, it's volume 36, which will come out in April 2022. So look for my essay in that as well.
Oh, that is impressive. We'll keep up with that. Now let my viewers know about that. So
Thank you.
That is just awesome. So what do you like to do when you're not writing?
When I'm not writing, actually, I love music. So I love to listen to music. My nieces and nephews talk about them a lot. And they say I was the bad influence because they'd ride around with me in the car when they were little, listening to music blasting out the car. They said, that's why we do it now. I said, okay, blame me. So I love listening to music and family time. I love family time. So family time is there always for me. And then, as I said, I volunteer for my church and I enjoy that work and doing that. So that's a lot of what I do, I'd say, in my off time.
That is beautiful. I love that. Yeah, because I love asking that question because I often wonder, like, we write so much. It's like, and people used to ask me all the time before I had shows, do you do anything but write? Like, I have other things that I do. Man.
Yes.
But writing just takes up about 75% of that. That's all.
Yeah.
So my next question for you, how can we get to know you? How can we buy books? How can we interact with you?
Sure. My books are available on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and look up A Season of Disruption, or actually look up Jacqueline P. Walker, because I write on the Jacqueline P. Walker, you'll be able to find and purchase my books. I also have a website. So it's writingsbyjackie.com. So if you go to writingsbyjackie.com, my website is there. And so there you can connect with me, you can email me, and you can connect on reach me on Facebook. So, yeah.
I was also going to ask too, but not to ask, we're still talking about the book. Are you still doing your blogs?
I actually write some blogs on my site now. So if you go to writingsbyjackie.com, you'll actually see that there are some motivational blogs out there, and I plan on continuing that as well. And every now and then, Everyday Power actually does still from time to time reuse or republish some of the old blogs that I write. So they still show up on that site. And if you search, actually my blogs from that site will still pop up. So yeah, but I'll continue to write those blogs.
Awesome. So my next question, actually my final question is, I normally give my authors the final word. They can give shout outs, advice, whatever, but whatever you want to say, the floor is all yours.
What I'll say is, first off, that I am just so grateful to God for not just the skills, but for the opportunities that he's given me and for how he's taken me through my life. And I am grateful for the people that he's placed in my life. And and again, Every time and again, that's where this whole thing of season of destruction, because every time when it looks like, oh boy, a door is about to close, he opens it for me, I'm so thankful again for all the people that I've met who have been just welcoming me with open arms and being so willing to, assist me in this journey. And I always have to first and foremost give thanks to my mother for what she did for me and my brothers and sisters. There are no words or nothing that we could ever do to repay her. And then I thank, my siblings, because being the youngest and being the one who was 8, they covered me. They covered me unbelievably, so that if you read the book, you'll get the essence of how they covered me. And I'm just so, again, grateful for opportunities and thankful to everyone, who reads the book and who supports me, and, anything that I can do to pay it forward and help someone in their journey. That's my life's passion that I hope to do.
Coming up next is HD's 2 cents.
Just who is author H.D. Campbell? He's the multi-gene author who can take you on several trips at once. With H.D. Campbell, you can have a romance, you can track a killer, or even stop an international incident. For 30 years and still writing, H.D. Campbell will take you on trips you've never been before. Learn more about him by logging on to hdcampbell3.com or check him out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. Read his rewrites of How to Lose a Black Woman and Late Murder at 10, with a new title coming soon. And as always, let your writing fuel your spirit.
Welcome to HD's 2 cents. Today, I want to talk about social media and using grammar when using social media. Have you ever thought about what we write on social media? I mean, people say it'll come back to bite us, and a lot of times it does. But as authors, I'm not speaking controversial or anything raunchy or anything, 'cause we're authors. We can pretty much so write whatever we want. I'm only speaking in a grammatical sense. I mean, we as authors represent ourselves even when we're on social media. So we have to be careful with how we put our messages out there. If we're authors and we're putting out content that's with misspellings and wrong usage of the word, and a lot of times I'll sometimes go fast and make the mistake of not putting punctuation at the end of mine. When we make statements like that, it sends a statement to our readers, our people who know us, to where, well, if he's careless with what he puts on social media, how careless are you with his books? And with us as editors, like I'm an editor, and I have friends who are editors, and just putting content out there like that is just messy. So we really do have to be very careful with how we put our messages on social media. I mean, I'm not saying you have to always be 100% politically correct when writing things. All I'm saying is just take a little bit more time with putting your messages down. I know even sometimes we have to rush to get messages out to update our people as to what's going on, updating the public as to what's going on. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm just saying we'll be careful. So that's H.D. Campbell, and that was my 2 cents. Well, that's the show. A programming note, you can watch us every Monday here on our YouTube channel, HD Television. I'm going to start having a lot of updates coming up. There's a lot of things going on at the end of the year that I'll be talking to you guys about with Hard Drive Publishing, HD Campbell Productions, new projects, things like that. I'm going to give you a few updates on NaNoWriMo, and it's just going to be a lot of different things. Also, stay tuned to my weekly gripe tomorrow right after the show. I have a few new gripes to talk about, and you can catch that on my webpage at hdcampbellmedia.com. Thank you very much. That's the show. Peace. Let your writing fuel your spirit. And as always, God bless you, and have a wonderful day. Be good to each other.